I've done a lot of videos over the years on mulch. I think really soil health is the main part of gardening. I love shopping for plants, love planting plants, love the plants. Obviously, is at the end of the day is the garden. But underneath that, you know, is a soil that supports everything that's in this garden, and it's been done in the past with a combination of wood chips, and I'm going to show you some of those in just a minute, and then mulching on top of that over time, and it's built what is a really great soil out here. And if you've watched any of the recent planting videos, I can just take a shovel now and basically just sink it down in the ground, unless there's roots, you know, which we have some root competition from some adjoining properties here. But within this garden over here, it's so easy to dig now, it's so easy to plant, and so that's the importance of keeping the ground covered. We went a little longer this spring because the mulch had gotten a little thick. I felt like I wanted it to break down a little more, but we're now at the point where we're about to mulch. And this video is going to be all about how to kind of prep for mulch. I've got a big load of mulch coming on Friday because we're going to mulch in the new native garden over there as well. I'll show you that in just a minute. But there's some things you can do to kind of prepare for the mulch to arrive, to make sure that you're ready to do it and have it kind of look neat and orderly at the end of it. One of those things is we have this curb that runs along the front, you know, at the road, like probably lots and lots of people do, and it immediately from the back of the curb climbs about 6 inches up into the garden. Okay, where the soil has either, you know, increase the amount of soil out here over time between mulching and it was grass for years and all those kinds of things, but it tries to spill over the curb. So one thing I'll do is I'll take my shovel. This is a trenching shovel. This one's kind of been worn out quite a bit. I've got a newer one of these, but this one works great for, I just turn the shovel slightly sideways like that along that curb, and I'll just drag this up the curb like that right there, and it basically throws that soil back up in the bed as I go. I think you can see that. Makes a crispy little line across there. I'm not trying to bury any plants or anything like that, but this allows, when we mulch now, for that mulch just to fall back against that curb. And I could go much deeper than that if I wanted to. Obviously, you could come in here and put some sort of edging that would increase the size of this, you know, increase the height of this, and maybe look a little bit more crispy. I just don't like to put, it's unnecessary to me. I'll just go through here, you know, go along this entire edge all the way up, loosen all of this, and then that will allow me to come in here and clean up the curb without, again, burying any plants if I choose not to. The other things you'll need to edge are around your turf area. I don't have any lawn to show you, but I've done edging videos on the channel in the past, and I'll link one up here as you're watching if it pops up in the corner, or I'll link one at the end of the in the comment section down below, just on how to edge around your turf areas. I have a technique where I still use this shovel, or there's a lot of tools you can use for this, or you can rent something to initially create a nice crispy edge around your lawn. But watch that video if you have lawn area that you want to edge around. After I edge along those hard surfaces like that, and again, you can go as deep as you want to go, or, you know, build something else if you wanted to. But I'll just take the blower and blow that stuff off the curb back up into the bed. And then you may have to go across it a couple times, you know, to get it cut down like that. But when I put the mulch in there, it'll just fall back against the back of that curb. One other thing I got to do is go through and weed. So I definitely don't want to mulch over weeds, because I'm not putting a super thick layer of hardwood mulch down here. It's going to be maybe 1.5 inches or 2 inches. And this crabgrass right here is 100% going to come up through that. You know, there's no way that 2 inches of mulch will kill that crabgrass. This is like peak time of the year for crabgrass, you know, when it's 90 degrees outside and sunny. You know, it's the perfect conditions for crabgrass. So I got to go through here, pull any weeds. We don't have a lot of weeds, but the ones we do, the nice thing about pulling weeds on a hot day when you're about to mulch, if they don't have any seeds on them, you can just throw them upside down back in the bed. The sun will kill that thing today. I'm mulching 2 days from now, and it'll be fine. Or you throw them in a bucket and dispose of them however you want to dispose of them. But I just got to go through here. Again, I'll just pull them, make sure they come up by the root, and just drop them right back in the bed. And then anything else that needs edging, I'll go around and do that quickly. Doesn't take long at all. And again, the soil that's on the top of that curb, I can just throw up into the bed, or if it's a bunch of it, you may get a bucket and use it somewhere else in the garden ultimately. But I'll just clean all that up with the blower later. One other thing we have going on here is our spring bulbs are still up. They've lost enough now that I feel comfortable go ahead and cutting them back. So I've let them die back this amount, because that's what you really need to do, because they need to rebuild that bulb using the sun's energy. And those green leaves were the thing that was doing that. But I don't want to mulch over top of this like this, so we'll go ahead and just snip these off to the ground at this point, and then we'll be mulching in a few days. And that bed will be nice and clean. Any weeds that are in here at the same time we're cutting the bulbs back, we'll pull those weeds up as well. Just commenting that our NC State bed is looking great. These red Summer Jewels salvia and these white Summer Jewels salvia, plus the red verbena here, plus a white lantana over here, plus more red and white Summer Jewels salvia, plus the saucy red salvia up there. This is our 5 blocks away from North Carolina State University. This is definitely this is one they should use around the campus, because these Summer Jewels salvia they could do from seed. Super easy, and they bloom all summer long. I got to go along the driveway too. I talked about originally on this project, we're not finished with some of the hardscaping. I've got the patio in the back. We did these fencing in the front. It's dry enough now that I need to put some sort of protectant on it. I don't know that I'm going to change the color of it. And now I'm going to get 40 different people saying it should be white, or it should be stained, or it should be whatever. Everybody's obviously going to have a different opinion on how you do, what you do with bare wood like that. But I was letting them dry out for a couple years. I need to put some sort of protectant on it. Again, I'm not going to try to change the color necessarily on that. But one of the other hardscape projects I wanted to do, and I am going to do, is put a small retaining wall across this natural material retaining wall and up here, and have this path that goes to the front door be a little more formal, a couple steps right here. There's a stepless entry out in the front, so it will be like you don't have to go up steps. You can go in through the front as well, because this falls off about 2.5 feet. And these are the types of areas you're going to have in your garden where this is maintenance just for it's just constant maintenance, to have this material just fall in the driveway all the time like this. And so we have to go along here, always before I mulch, but also probably once a month we'll come through here, and I'll just normally take a flat shovel, and not this shovel. Flat shovel will be much faster, and just get this off of the driveway like that. And then I can do the same thing I did out at the road, which is just cut that little trench along the edge of the brick like that, as a place for that mulch to fall. And then I'll clean it the rest of the way up and use the blower on it. But that's the same. This one I have to solve. I just have to, this is a project that I need to do. It's been on the list the entire time, and I think it'll look a whole lot better. I did a bunch of these types of little walls and step projects when I was a landscaper, and you'll see it's a slate step and a natural stone wall combo that I think looks pretty good. So you guys will see that. I hope this year. That'll be a project that comes up on the list this year. But for now, we just throw it back in the bed occasionally. The first time we mulched the main garden over there, I think it was like 16 yards of triple shredded hardwood mulch. So it was quite a bit. There's a mulch you can go any search engine, you can just say mulch calculator, and you'll find a website that has a mulch calculator, and you can just put the amount of area that you have, amount of square feet that you have, or square yards that you have, and to cover, and then how deep you want the mulch. And over here, I'm gonna do a very thin layer just to kind of cover up these wood chips and have the trail system that we're ultimately gonna have out here kind of exposed. I'm gonna leave the trail as wood chips, and the rest of it's gonna have a thin layer of brown mulch over top of it. So this area is gonna look a whole lot better than it currently does when I mulch this. But I only want about 1.5 inches of mulch over here. So I did the math, I stepped this off over here. It's 100 feet, it's 100 feet deep. So it's I just take a pretty big step, and that's 3 feet for me. You may just get out a tape measure and measure it or whatever, but for me, all the years of landscaping, I can step off pretty accurately, 3 foot, 1 yard at the time. So there's 33 steps back there. So it's right at 100 feet, 99 feet. And it's across this direction about 30 feet. So it's about 10 paces across this way. So I got about 3,000 square feet. I subtracted the fact that I stepped off my trail through here and then subtracted that square footage from the 3,000 square feet. So I had about 2,600 square feet I'm covering, 1.5 inches. You put that into the mulch calculator and you get like 10 yards of mulch that it's gonna take me to cover this with a little bit of mulch. I'll do this over there probably a hair deeper, but one thing that happens, this is the great part about this, is over here initially, like I said, I had 16 yards of mulch to cover that. It's under 8 now. All the plants are filling in, things are taking up space, ground covers are doing ground cover things, and 8 is probably even too much. So I've got 8 coming for that side and 10 coming for this side when it comes. But this obviously is just a wide open space, so it's just gonna eat mulch like crazy to cover this. But in the future, a lot of these plants are spreading. There'll be lots of ground covers added, there'll be lots of shrubs added, and over time, this will go from needing 10 yards or 12 yards down to, needing 4 probably well out into the future. But each year it's gonna go down. And I would encourage you, if your garden has developed year over year, to reduce the amount you're ordering. I ordered it in bulk. I mean, obviously people go and get bags of mulch, and there's all kinds of bagged mulch deals, but I ordered in bulk from a landscape yard here in Raleigh. I use Capital Mulch if you're here in the Raleigh area, and they're over on Gresham's Lake Road. Always been good for delivery, and I can pick my delivery time and all those kinds of things. But the look of this is radically going to change here. There's nothing really to prep other than I want my path to look neat. It's a curved path that goes through here. We put up a video on the Native Plant Garden last week, if you want to go and look at it, where I put the drone up and marked out how this path is going to go with a shovel. Now I need to come through here and actually paint a line. I'm going to have about a 3 foot wide path, so I'm just going to paint a 3 foot wide path through here so that when I mulch, I can semi-neatly have the edges, pretty neat. They won't be perfect. I don't have any kind of physical edging to make it perfect, nor am I gonna cut a trench or anything like that. But I'll get it neat enough looking that you'll be able to see where the path you're supposed to stay on when you visit the garden in the future. A few more things to prepare for before your mulch arrives and you're ready to jump in and get to it. And the reason I want these things, one of the reasons I want to get all these things done, I want to get this edging done in advance. I want to get lines painted for paths that aren't going to be mulched. I want to get things in the ground and planted before the mulch gets here, is that a couple things. Number one, any foot traffic you put in the beds afterwards are going to cause that mulch barrier to break down, and you're going to get weeds in it. You're going to be tracking weed seeds on your shoes perhaps into it, any kind of mud or anything like that. The other thing is it gets harder by the day to spread that mulch once it's been there for a while. So when it gets dumped out of the back of the truck, it's loose and fluffy and pretty easy to scoop it up however you want to scoop it up and get it in the wheelbarrow. And I'll show you when we actually mulch how I do that. But that moment that it drops out of the truck is the easiest it's ever going to be to put into a wheelbarrow. And so having all of these things done and prepped and everything ahead of time, definitely the way to go. So you can jump on it before it gets hard to do. Pruning needs to be done. Okay, before we just pruned this loropetalum, we just pruned this weigela in a video. We did a backyard pruning video and a front garden pruning video in the last week or two, if you haven't seen those. But all this material, this would be more reason that I'd have to come into these beds. You need to know the timing that's best to prune the thing you're pruning, so don't, make sure you know what you're pruning. And on our weekly garden planner and our Learn to Garden video series over on the website, I have lists for when to prune, the best time of year to prune certain things. So this Loropetalum blooms early in the spring, and so and this Weigela does too. They're best pruned after they flower. That's what I did. I pruned them, got that material out of the way. The other thing that could happen is if you have giant shade trees and they drop tons and tons of leaves and tons of sticks and that kind of thing in the garden, you might want to go thin those leaves out. I'm a big proponent of leaving the leaves in the garden, but we have an area back toward the back here with a 75-foot tall white oak, and it drops more leaves than we could possibly keep in this corner back here. So I don't get rid of them, I just thin them out into other areas. That way the mulch will be easier to cover. I don't want to put mulch on top of leaves that are already this deep. So if you have any material that's up under plants, and you can see that you're going to be burying the plants in some way, when you actually are mulching, get that stuff thinned out. The other thing is I use multiple mulches out here to create an aesthetic. So, you know, we have the wood chip paths, we have the hardwood mulch that will be in the beds that you'll see in that video, and then I put pine bark around some of our annuals. So I did this the other day in a video. We've actually just cut some things back here, but the annual beds have pine bark in them. Pine bark is kind of neutral. It won't take away anything from it doesn't break down very quickly, so it won't steal any nitrogen. It doesn't hurt, you know. It allows a little bit of weed blockage and moisture retention in my annual beds without doing any harm to them that hardwood mulch could potentially do. A thick layer of hardwood mulch around your annuals can potentially yellow them and also actually just create too much moisture around them potentially. So I don't use the hardwood mulch around the annuals at all, but those three colors of mulches look good together as well and create kind of an aesthetic here in the garden. So there you go. That's you know, my mulch prep. Again, if you have a lawn area, I do have how to edge around lawn area video on the channel, and I think it would maybe be helpful. The first time you edge something, so when I just went around the driveway out there and the curb out there, I've done it multiple times. So that material is just loose. So I can just slide this thing through there. The first time you do it, it may be super compact around your lawn. It may be roots around it that you'll end up having to cut a little bit. There might be rocks and debris in there. So sometimes it will take a big effort the first time you edge something properly or edge something neatly. But in the future, it will be much easier. You'll find that you'll be able to go and refresh those trenches, that trench edging very easily. So there you go. Thanks for following along.